Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jack. I'm the founder here at Scenarios. We're a marketing agency based in London that helps e-commerce brands set up effective campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. And as I said in this week's video, we're going to be talking about how to correctly interpret and read your Facebook ads data. The way I'm going to be structuring this video is first we're going to talk about some of the metrics that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to define them and we're going to make an important distinction between two types of metrics that we're going to be looking at, and then we're going to look into how can you set up that dashboard within your own ad account, and then we're going to go into a live ad account and look at some of the numbers that we're currently getting from our ads, what numbers we're looking at, how we're deciding how to optimize the campaigns, how we're diagnosing problems when things are not going well. So before you begin interpreting your data and analyzing it and making iterations on your campaigns, you first need to be very familiar with the different metrics Facebook gives you and what those metrics exactly mean in order to again have an accurate analysis of the data that you're getting from your campaigns. So what I've done is created a very basic template with the definitions of the main metrics that we're going to be talking about, and there's also going to be a very important distinction in the metrics that I'm going to be talking about. And if you want to get a PDF version of this kind of Facebook ad metrics cheat sheet, if you will, I'll leave a link in the description where you can sign up and have that sent right to your inbox. Okay, so what I have here is pretty much the main metric that we want to be looking at. The first two, the average margins and the average order value, are two metrics you must understand before you even start running any sort of Facebook and Instagram advertising campaigns. The average margins, which are the profit margins on average after taking into consideration the product and shipping cost, will tell you what your break-even return on ad spend needs to be. So for every dollar that you're spending, how many dollars do you need to generate back to break even? And this is very, very important. To give you a very quick example of this, if you have a 70% average margin, that means for every dollar you're spending on Facebook, you need to generate at least $1.43 back to break even. If you want to learn more about that metric and how it's calculated, we've actually created a video about it called The 4 Things You Must Know Before You Start Running Facebook Ads, which I'll leave in the suggested cards. The second metric that you want to have a grasp around is the average order value, which is the dollar value of an average order on your site. Pretty self-explanatory. And the reason you want to know your average order value is you want to start to understand, based on your average margins, what's the cost per purchase that you're going to be looking for. And that can be calculated pretty simply from your average margins. So the next set of metrics are really going to be the metrics that we're going to be looking at most when we're looking to kind of analyze the data from the campaigns and try to look at what needs to be done next and if there's potential bottlenecks. The most important distinction that I'm going to be talking about today in terms of the metrics, if you go into your Facebook ad account, you might see two metrics for seemingly the same action. So, for example, if we take cost per click, for example, you might notice that Facebook has a cost per click all metric and has a unique cost per click. And this distinction is very important. And the difference between those is when Facebook is reporting on cost per clicks, for example, they're looking at any sort of click, regardless of how many times each single user clicked on the ad. Instead, what we want to always try to look at is actually the unique cost per click. And the distinction is simple. When it's a unique metric, it's looking at one, each user only has one chance to add to that metric. So the cost per outbound click for every unique user. And with all of the metrics, you'll see that as a trend, we're always looking at the unique numbers. It just gives us a much better estimate to what's happening. Just in case people are clicking on the ad more than once by mistake, we don't want to account for that when we're making decisions. So again, the cost per outbound click, this is very self-explanatory. It's just the cost per click that's actually taking people to the landing page. So not just a click on the ad, but a click on the button itself that takes them to the landing page or the home page or wherever you're sending traffic. The unique click-through rate is again the percentage of unique users that click through on your ad after you see it. So that's usually a percentage. So out of 100 people, how many people actually end up going through to the landing page? The CPM is also a really important metric to look at when you're testing different audiences, as they might vary in how much they cost you. And essentially the CPM is the cost per 1,000 impressions, and that's the main metric Facebook uses to actually charge you when they're charging for your ads. Next, we're going to be looking at unique landing page view. Again, you don't want to account for people who are just visiting the landing page over and over again for whatever reason. You want to make sure that you're going for those unique metrics. Again, we're going to see the steps of the funnel, so unique landing page, view content, add to cart, and then initiate checkout, and obviously unique purchases after that. So all of those, we want to have them unique, and I'll show you how to set those in the actual ads manager in a second. And the last metric I want to talk about is the actual frequency, and this is also an important metric to look at when you're analyzing your Facebook and Instagram advertising data. Essentially, the number of times an average member of your target audience has seen one of your ads in a given time frame. So obviously the frequency will change depending on what time frame you give the ad account, but it's important to look at that to make sure that people are not getting sick of your ads and seeing them way too often. Again, if you want to get a PDF version of that cheat sheet, I'll leave a link in the description where you can sign up and have that sent to you. And what we're going to do next is go into the ad account and see how we can set up an ad account in a way where we can see all of those metrics very clearly and set them up in a, let's say, consecutive way, so that we can actually see the different stages of the funnel and potentially where there are different bottlenecks, where people are falling off, and so on and so forth. Okay, so when you go into your ad account, you're probably not going to see exactly what I'm seeing here, depending on what the default kind of metrics that you've set Facebook to report to. But if you go ahead and click on this button right here, what you'll see is there are different presets that Facebook has already kind of created for us, where we can see different dashboards, essentially reporting on different data analytics depending on certain things that you might be looking for. So this is for performance, this is more so for delivery. If you're running ads for video engagement, perhaps you could try to look at this one. But what I like to do for every single ad account is create my own customized columns to create a dashboard where I can see exactly what I need to in terms of all of the metrics we talked about, the unique ones that we discussed, why it's important to actually look at the unique metrics. And so what you want to do when you go into your ad account is you want to customize the columns. And once you click customize columns right here, what you should see is this come up, and what you're able to do is pretty much customize the dashboard exactly how you would like. And what I would recommend for you is to go ahead and copy my exact template right here. So the first thing we have is budget. This is going to allow you to understand how much you're spending per day. Then we have delivery, reach, impressions, landing page views, add to carts. And generally speaking, if you're just selling from your website, you don't need to include website and offline distinctions. They're all going to be from your website, so you can untick all of those. Checkouts initiated, purchases, and again, I highly recommend you include unique when applicable. Purchases, amount spent, purchase conversion value, purchase ROAS, attribution setting. This is also really important to look at, and I'll discuss this in a second. As some of you might very well know, the attribution setting for Facebook, or the default attribution setting for Facebook, has changed as of January 19th of this year from 28 days click, 1 day view to a 7-day click, 1 day view. So I just keep that there just to make sure if any campaigns are from the past, what attribution setting is set. Cost per result, assuming you're always optimizing for purchases, that's going to be your cost per purchase, cost per 1,000 people reached, CPM, which is the cost per 1,000 impressions, cost per landing page view. In this case, I've actually have it wrong right here. What I would do is change that to unique. So what I would do here is, what you can see here is the link click-through rate. What you want to change that to is the unique link click-through rate. So I'll actually make sure to change that on this ad account right now. But again, the difference between a click-through rate, which is the overall, and a unique click-through rate is a unique click-through rate just accounts for 1 per user, which is really important. So once you've applied that, this is what you should see in your ad account. You should see your budget initially, your delivery, the reach, the impressions, the landing page views, add to carts, checkouts, purchases. And the reason we've set it up in this way is, first of all, we need to see how many people we're reaching. Out of those people, how many times the ads were shown to them. And then from those people, how many actually visited the landing page, how many of those people actually ended up adding an item to cart, out of those who actually who actually initiated a checkout, and of course the lowest number is out of all of those people who ended up purchasing. And that gives you kind of a very brief glance and overview of what the funnel looks like. And then what you can see is how much you've spent and how much profit or how much revenue you've generated right here. And that gives you a very quick overview of the overall campaign. The most important metric and kind of our North Star when we're looking at an ad account is the purchase ROAS. So the return on ad spend that we discussed earlier. So for every dollar that you're spending on Facebook, how much are you generating? Is it above or under the break-even ROAS that you've calculated from your average margin? So again, in this case, for example, we're looking at an average margin of 70%. So we want none of the campaigns that are running to be under 1.43. And you can see here from most of the campaigns, we're well above that number. And anything below that, we turn it off right away. We don't want to spend too much money unless we think, it's the first 48 hours of the campaign and we want to give the ad set a chance. But after those first 48 hours, if we have a campaign that's under that number, we're going to turn that off immediately. And now I'm going to go into if a campaign is not working. Perhaps you have pretty good creatives, you know that the audience targeting is really good, and you want to diagnose it, perhaps jump into a little bit more of the data to understand what could be the problem. We're going to look at the other side of the ad account here and see the data. So again, on the left side here, we have a very, very quick overview of all of the numbers. And then if we go to the right, that's when we start to look at what the costs are and how much it's costing us to get people to land on the landing page, add an item to cart, initiate checkout, and eventually purchase. And that's where we're going to be able to diagnose if there's any bottlenecks. For example, if you look at any one set campaign and we look at, if we just look at the first one, for example, you can see here that our CPM is around 24 euros, which is pretty good. Our cost per landing page view is around €1.33, which is brilliant. That means we're getting pretty good click-through rate overall. You can see here our click-through rate is 1.9%. Again, I would recommend for you to actually add the unique click-through rate in this case, and I'll be changing this on this ad account as soon as I finish with this video. The next metric right here is going to be the cost per add to cart, and you can see here that there's not a huge discrepancy between the cost per landing page view and the cost per add to cart. And what that tells us essentially, and obviously you want to look at the numbers in a bit more detail to see what percentage difference you're getting, but in terms of the cost per add to cart, this is telling us that there's nothing that's in the way between people actually landing on the landing page and actually adding an item to cart, which is important. For example, if you had a landing page that was badly designed and the add to cart button wasn't clear, and you saw that you were getting a cost per landing page view of around €1, and you were getting a cost per add to cart of, let's say, 15 euros, then there could be a problem between people actually either liking the products and adding them to cart, or something with the landing page that makes the add to cart button hard to reach. So that's how you can start diagnosing the problem. So you can see where I'm going with this. Once you see the cost per landing page view, the cost per add to cart, you can see the cost per checkout initiated is a little bit higher right here, and then we have the cost per purchase back here, which is really important, around 20 euros per purchase. It's well below what we are aiming for, which is really, really great. In this campaign, it's very, very successful, around 3.62 times return. This was obviously a remarketing campaign, so we have a little bit more room there. Again, when you're looking to diagnose some of your campaigns and read some of this data, what you're always looking for is what is causing people not to convert well enough. Is it the click-through rate? So for example, if our click-through rate was, let's say, less than 1%, then it could be a problem with the ads and the creatives themselves. We want to look at what we can do to try to get that click-through rate up because people are seeing our ads, but no one's actually clicking through on the ad. So that's how you can start analyzing the data. Obviously, this is a very, very brief overview. I'm not going to go into too much depth on the actual analytics, exporting that data and understanding things on a much kind of finer scale, but I'm just giving you a very quick and easy way to start diagnosing your ad campaigns, what's working, what isn't, and for the campaigns that are not working, by looking at these metrics very quickly. So the cost per landing page view, add to cart, checkout initiated, you're seeing right here from the funnel if there's any big bottlenecks. One problem that I also see very often, for example, if you have a very good cost per checkout initiated, but you have a really high cost per purchase, so you're getting, let's say, €7 here, cost per checkout initiated, but your cost per result, let's say, is around 60 euros. So, it's taking you 10 people to initiate checkout for one of them to purchase, then it could be a problem with your checkout process, whether it be very expensive shipping that's turning people off, or perhaps you're actually sending people to a landing page where the shipping in their country is not available. So all of those things you want to look out for, and this data and the way I've set up the dashboard allows you to do so in a very, very quick and succinct way. And there you have it, guys. We covered quite a bit of ground today about both what sort of metrics we want to understand and define before we start looking in our Facebook Ads Manager. And we also jumped into the Ads Manager and looked at the dashboard that we use personally for our campaigns and our client campaigns in terms of analyzing the campaigns very quickly and understanding what do we need to change for campaigns that are not working very well. We also looked at the distinction between unique metrics and general metrics, and why unique is always preferred, just because you want to make sure that you're not accounting for people who are doing the action more than once by mistake. The last thing we looked at is the overall, as I said, the dashboard, how we're able to diagnose what's going wrong in the funnel, whether it be from your initiate checkout phase or add to cart phase. If you're seeing a drop off in the funnel, then you can start to look at what the probable cause of that drop off is and iterate your campaigns. We also talked about the North Star that we're always looking at when we're looking at the ad account, which is the return on ad spend, which you can figure out from your average margins. Most businesses are going to be between 50 to 70% margins, and that means you're going to be needing to generate between 1.4 to 2 times returns on your ads to be profitable. So that's the main metric you want to always be looking at, and make sure that the overall ad account does not go under that to stay profitable and have successful campaigns. So if you did enjoy the video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and give us some feedback on what you think of the videos, how you think we can improve, new video ideas. I'm always open to feedback, and we'll see you guys in the next one.